Ella James had never imagined that one phone call could change everything. Her small wedding planning business had been quiet lately, mostly local events and low-key celebrations, until a mysterious client requested her services for a grand, luxurious wedding, an event far beyond anything she'd ever organized. Her heart raced as she listened to the voice on the other end, calm, confident, with just a hint of amusement. The client explained he wanted the wedding planned with complete honesty and no compromises, and he was leaving all the creative decisions to her. When she hung up, Ella felt a strange mix of excitement and nerves. She knew this was the opportunity of a lifetime, but something about the brief conversation lingered in her mind. Who was this man? Why had he chosen her out of countless planners in the city? The next morning she arrived at the venue, a sprawling estate with manicured gardens and a ballroom that seemed straight out of a dream. As she walked through, taking notes and envisioning the decor, a tall man appeared seemingly out of nowhere. He introduced himself as Ryan Caldwell, a close friend of the bride, and offered to help with any details she needed. Ryan's presence was striking. His calm confidence made Ella feel both nervous and strangely at ease. He watched her with a quiet intensity as she explained her ideas, nodding thoughtfully, occasionally offering subtle suggestions. When a minor mishap with the lighting had her fretting, he stepped forward and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You've got this," he said, and without thinking, Ella let herself relax into his brief, comforting hug. It was just a hug, but in that moment, it felt like the start of something unexpected. As Ella left the estate that evening, her mind kept returning to him. She had no idea that this seemingly ordinary meeting was the beginning of a story far more personal and romantic than she could have ever imagined. Ella couldn't stop thinking about Ryan Caldwell. His quiet attentiveness had left an impression, and she found herself analyzing every detail of their brief encounter. The next day she arrived at the estate with her planner's notebook, determined to turn ideas into reality. Ryan was already there, reviewing a checklist with meticulous precision. "Good morning, Ella," he said, smiling in that effortless way that made her stomach flutter. "I thought I'd get a head start." She returned his smile, feeling an unusual warmth. As they walked through the gardens, discussing floral arrangements and seating plans, Ryan listened intently to her suggestions, asking questions that showed genuine curiosity. It was rare to meet someone so successful who could also appreciate the little details, the way a table runner caught the light or how soft the ribbon felt in her hand. Hours passed like minutes. They shared stories about their families, laughter echoing in the grand hall. Ella found herself relaxing in his presence, enjoying the ease with which he could make her forget the pressure of the job. When she hesitated over a difficult decor choice, Ryan gently placed a hand on her back. "You've got great instincts," he said softly. Ella looked up at him, startled by the closeness. Before she could think, she leaned into a brief hug, a spontaneous reaction to the comfort he provided. It was simple, innocent, yet it sparked a quiet awareness between them, a sense that their connection might be more than just professional. As the day ended, Ryan handed her a folder with sketches and notes. "I trust you'll make this wedding unforgettable," he said. And though she didn't realize it yet, Ella felt the first thread of something deeper beginning to weave itself into her heart, quietly, patiently, like the beginning of a story she hadn't known she was part of. Ella couldn't deny the pull she felt toward Ryan Caldwell, though she tried to rationalize it. He was the client's friend, not hers. Yet, every time he offered a suggestion, smiled at a clever idea, or simply stood near her while she arranged flowers, her heart betrayed her. She shook her head, telling herself to focus on the wedding. The day began with a whirlwind of decisions: menu tastings, table layouts, and lighting options. Ryan moved beside her effortlessly, quietly observing, occasionally giving a nod of approval or a brief word of praise. Ella noticed how he seemed to anticipate her thoughts, often reaching for a sample or gently redirecting a florist before she even asked. During a brief lunch break in the sunlit garden, Ryan shared a story from his childhood, a tale of a small, chaotic family holiday that ended in laughter and warmth. Ella found herself laughing along, feeling a strange sense of intimacy. Here was a man whose life seemed worlds apart from hers, yet in these moments he felt close, familiar even. Later, a last-minute challenge with the centerpieces left Ella frustrated. She sank into a chair, hands trembling slightly as tension built. Ryan knelt beside her, offering a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Hey, you're amazing at this," he said softly. Ella looked up into his eyes and, without thinking, leaned forward into a brief hug, resting her head against his chest. The simplicity of the gesture, the quiet reassurance, lingered in her mind long after he stepped back. By the time the afternoon sun dipped low, Ella realized she was experiencing emotions she hadn't anticipated: excitement, curiosity, and a warmth she couldn't ignore. She still didn't know why Ryan was so invested, but a part of her hoped it wasn't just professional. Something was beginning, subtle yet undeniable, between them. Ella had always loved planning weddings, but this one felt different. As she laid out her ideas for the ceremony and reception, she realized she was describing a dream she'd secretly longed for herself: grand yet intimate, elegant but filled with personal touches. Ryan listened quietly, his gaze fixed on her as if he could see the passion she poured into every word. "You've thought of everything," he said softly, leaning slightly closer. "I never imagined anyone could see it this way." Ella blushed, a mix of pride and embarrassment. She tried to brush it off, but Ryan's smile made her heart race. They moved through the ballroom, imagining flower arrangements, lighting, and seating charts. Every time Ella hesitated or doubted a choice, Ryan offered subtle reassurance: an encouraging word, a knowing look, or a hand on her back to guide her. Hours passed unnoticed. They shared laughs over mismatched napkin samples and debated over subtle differences in table decor. Each interaction made Ella feel more at ease, more connected. She began to wonder if he had always been watching, quietly appreciating her ideas, or if this closeness was something new between them. During a break, Ryan handed her a folder with sketches and notes he had prepared himself. "I wanted to make sure you had everything you needed," he said, his tone gentle. Ella felt a flutter in her chest and, without thinking, leaned forward into a brief, spontaneous hug. It was simple and innocent, yet filled with warmth and unspoken trust. As she stepped back, she caught herself smiling. Planning this wedding had always been her job, but now it felt like the beginning of something far more personal. Something that involved Ryan Caldwell in a way she hadn't expected, but couldn't stop thinking about. Ella couldn't shake the unease that had settled over her. Rumors had begun circulating, small whispers about Ryan being engaged, about someone else in his life. She tried to dismiss them, telling herself it wasn't her concern, but every time she saw him laugh or smile in ways that weren't meant for her, her chest tightened. The next day, while reviewing floral arrangements, she noticed Ryan's gaze lingering on her a fraction longer than usual. Her heart leapt, but confusion followed. Was it just admiration for her work or something more? She caught herself wondering if she had misread the warmth in his gestures. "Ella, are you okay?" Ryan asked suddenly, noticing her distracted expression. His concern was genuine, and for a moment, her worries melted. But then she remembered the rumors and doubt crept back in. "I'm fine," she said quickly, forcing a smile, though her voice betrayed her uncertainty. They continued with the plans, but the tension lingered. Ella felt a confusing mix of attraction and insecurity. She wanted to trust him, but her mind kept playing scenarios of rejection and heartbreak. She couldn't understand why someone like Ryan, successful, confident, and composed, would show so much attention to her. Later, after a frustrating meeting with a difficult vendor, Ella felt overwhelmed. Ryan appeared at her side, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Hey, don't let them get to you. You're brilliant at this," he said softly. She looked up, her emotions spilling over, and let herself lean into a brief, consoling hug. It was a simple gesture, yet in it she felt understanding, support, and an unspoken bond forming between them. As she stepped back, she realized that despite confusion and doubt, her heart was drawn to Ryan in ways she couldn't ignore. And somewhere deep down she sensed that he felt it too. Ella had spent weeks immersed in the wedding plans, pouring her heart into every detail. She had grown so accustomed to Ryan's quiet support and thoughtful guidance that she barely noticed how much she depended on him, until that moment of revelation. It was late afternoon when Ryan finally asked her to meet him in the ballroom. His expression was serious but gentle, and there was a nervous energy in the air that made her heart pound. "Ella," he began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion, "there's something I need to tell you." She tilted her head, curious. "What is it?" He took a deep breath. "The wedding you've been planning, it's not for anyone else. It's for you. You're the bride." Ella froze, disbelief washing over her. Her mind raced, trying to process the words. I don't understand," she whispered. "You've been planning our wedding," Ryan said softly, a small smile tugging at his lips. "I didn't tell you because I wanted it to reflect your vision, without influence from me. Every choice you made, every detail you imagined, it's perfect because it's yours." Shock melted into a rush of emotions: surprise, joy, and a trembling anticipation. Ella's hands flew to her mouth, tears threatening to spill. Ryan stepped closer, his gaze unwavering, and without hesitation, enveloped her in a tight, heartfelt hug. It was more than comfort. It was a promise, a quiet declaration that he had chosen her, completely and forever. As she rested her head against his chest, Ella realized that all the sparks, all the warmth she had felt around him, had been leading to this. The man she admired, who had been by her side in laughter and stress, was now hers in a way she could never have imagined. And in that embrace she knew their story, the one she had unknowingly been planning, was only just beginning. After the revelation, Ella felt as though the world had shifted beneath her feet. The man she had admired from afar, whose presence had comforted and inspired her, was not just a guiding hand. He was the reason her heart had been quietly fluttering all along. The next morning she returned to the estate with renewed energy. Ryan greeted her with that same calm confidence, but now there was a softness in his eyes, a warmth that made her chest ache in the best way. They worked together seamlessly, laughter punctuating their conversations as they finalized every detail. For the first time, Ella allowed herself to look at Ryan not just as a client or collaborator, but as someone who could be the center of her own story. Every subtle gesture, the brush of his hand as he passed her a ribbon, the way he listened intently when she shared ideas, made her heart swell with a quiet certainty. During a break in the garden, Ryan handed her a small cup of coffee, his fingers brushing hers. "You've made this wedding incredible," he said softly, "but it's more than the wedding, it's you." Ella's breath caught. Without thinking, she leaned forward, letting herself rest against his shoulder in a long, comforting hug. There was no rush, no pressure, just a shared acknowledgement of the bond that had been growing between them. The world around them seemed to fade, leaving only the quiet rhythm of two hearts finding each other. As the afternoon sun cast golden light across the estate, Ella realized something vital. Love wasn't just about grand gestures or perfect events. It was found in these quiet moments of trust, warmth, and shared joy. And with Ryan by her side, she felt certain of one thing. Their story was just beginning, and it was hers to embrace completely. Not everything about planning the wedding, and their growing relationship, was smooth. Ella had imagined the days leading up to it would be filled only with excitement and joy, but reality had its own plans. Vendors canceled at the last minute, minor disasters erupted in the decor, and unexpected social pressures began to creep in. Through it all, Ryan remained steady, a quiet anchor in the chaos. But Ella noticed a subtle tension in his posture that he didn't voice. She felt a mix of concern and frustration. How could someone so capable be affected by these trivial setbacks? "Ella," Ryan said one evening, pausing in the ballroom as she fretted over the seating chart, "don't let all of this stress overshadow why we're here. Everything is coming together because of you." She swallowed a sigh, tears threatening to form, and shook her head. "I know, but it feels like everything that can go wrong is going wrong." Without hesitation, Ryan stepped closer and wrapped her in a warm hug, one that spoke more than words ever could. He held her gently, letting her lean against him, offering silent reassurance. "We're in this together," he whispered. "Every step of the way." That simple embrace did more than calm her nerves. It reminded Ella of their growing bond, of the trust and comfort they shared. In that quiet moment she realized that obstacles didn't weaken love. They strengthened it, proving that together they could face anything. As the day ended and she walked home, her thoughts lingered on Ryan's words, the weight of his embrace, and the quiet certainty that whatever challenges awaited, they would face them together. The wedding was more than an event now. It was a testament to a partnership rooted in trust, admiration, and a love that was steadily growing stronger. The day Ella had been planning, and unknowingly living, finally arrived. The estate glimmered under the morning sun, every detail she had envisioned perfectly in place. She walked through the grand halls, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and nerves. Today wasn't just about the wedding she had planned, it was about the life she was stepping into with Ryan. Ryan appeared quietly at the edge of the ballroom, his usual calm confidence softened by anticipation. He watched her as she adjusted the final touches, a small smile tugging at his lips. Their eyes met, and for a moment the noise and bustle around them seemed to fade. In that glance was everything unspoken: trust, admiration, and a love that had grown quietly but powerfully between them. As the guests began to arrive, Ella's nerves returned, but Ryan's presence was steady and reassuring. He gently squeezed her hand before they stepped forward together, a silent acknowledgement that they were facing this moment side by side. The ceremony flowed like a dream. Every choice she had made, the flowers, the decor, the layout, was a reflection of her heart. And Ryan's quiet support throughout made it all feel even more intimate. When it was time to exchange vows, Ella's voice trembled slightly, but Ryan's reassuring gaze held her steady. Before they spoke the final words, they shared a long, heartfelt hug. It wasn't just comfort, it was a promise, a quiet celebration of trust, love, and the journey they had shared leading to this moment. The crowd faded into the background as they held each other, savoring the closeness and warmth of the embrace. As they pulled back, smiling at each other, Ella knew one thing with absolute certainty. This was the beginning of forever, and she had never felt more certain or more alive. The celebration that followed the ceremony was nothing short of magical. Ella moved through the ballroom, smiling at friends and family, but her eyes kept finding Ryan. He was there, steady, attentive, and entirely present, and in every glance, every small gesture, she felt the depth of his love. As the music began and guests took to the dance floor, Ryan offered his hand. "May I have this dance?" he asked, his voice calm but filled with warmth. Ella took it without hesitation, letting him guide her into the center of the room. The crowd faded as they moved together, laughter and whispered words of encouragement mingling with the soft melodies around them. They held each other close, their hug lingering longer than it needed to, a silent conversation passing between them. It wasn't just a hug, it was trust, promise, and the culmination of a journey neither of them had expected but both had embraced fully. In that moment, Ella realized love wasn't about perfection or grand gestures. It was about being seen, understood, and cherished. After the dance, they stepped outside under the starlit sky, quiet except for the gentle rustle of the evening breeze. Ryan held her hands, looking deeply into her eyes. "This is our beginning," he said softly. Ella smiled, feeling a sense of peace and joy that she had never known. And as they stood together, hearts aligned and futures intertwined, Ella knew one thing. Their story, unexpected, extraordinary, and completely theirs, was only just beginning.